A good evening to you from wherever you're tuning in. You're watching Metropole Sports Center. My name is Nation Owano. Well, it's the 13th of September. Just in case you're wondering what's happening in the sports world, I'll be keeping you up to date in what is happening in the sports world. Well, in the topic of discussion today, we are going to be covering the World Cup qualifiers that are currently going on. We have the 2020 Euro Championship qualifiers. We had the US Open that happened this past weekend, and then we had Formula One, and then FIBA Basketball World Cup that is currently ongoing. Well, the finals of the FIBA Basketball World Cup are happening this coming weekend. I'll be talking more about that. Well, today in studio, I have a guest. He's a player for Sofapaka, but today he's taking a different hat. He's our analyst for today, and he'll be helping us make sense of some of the sports happening as they are taking place out there. So to get us off into starting, just to give you a basis into what we're going to be talking about, we'll be talking about Zimbabwe versus Somalia, Guinea-Bissau versus Sao Tome and Principe. These are just the Africa World Cup qualifiers, which are going to be taking place in Qatar in 2022. So far, the qualified teams that have headed on to the first round of African qualifying, that is Zimbabwe, Guinea-Bissau, Malawi, Djibouti, Sudan, Mozambique, Angola, Togo, Namibia, Rwanda, Equatorial Guinea, Liberia, Tanzania, and Lesotho. So this is just how the results are faring out. We had a game between Zimbabwe versus Somalia. Yeah, I don't know what was your expectation in that particular match.
Actually, thanks for having me in your show. Okay. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be back here once again. Zimbabwe versus Somalia, I think it was a big surprise, especially for Zimbabwe, because I mean nobody expected maybe a team like Somalia to beat Zimbabwe, not even in a million years. Yeah. But again, it goes to show how much football is growing in Africa, especially some of these minnows. Nowadays, you don't have any small team anymore. I mean, when it comes to football, it's all about 90 minutes, and I think Somalia proved that, even though they've been bundled out, but I think that was still a huge statement for them, and it's a wake-up call for a team like Zimbabwe with all those stars like Kama Billiat, Katsande in the team. So I think it's a wake-up call for Zimbabwe going forward, because I mean they'll be learning from the mistakes they made against Somalia. But having said that, I think we must congratulate Somalia. I mean, this is a team that probably has most of the players who are not even playing regular football week in, week out, and plus you look at the circumstances and the situation back at home. It doesn't really allow them to play football, and for them to pull such a big results against a team that was just recently in AFCON, to me I think that's a very big statement for them. Yeah.
So just as you're heading into that particular game, just Somalia have faced 19 defeats in World Cup qualification. So there was a lot of optimism from the players and from the fans themselves going into that particular game. So I think that has already been decided. So we see what's going to be happening next, and then there was Guinea-Bissau versus Sao Tome and Principe.
For Guinea-Bissau, I think the season. I think it's a seasoned nation that in terms of football, they're perennial football team, national team in the African continent, and playing against a team like Sao Tome and Principe, I think for Guinea-Bissau probably is just again another learning process. And plus, if you look at the Guinea-Bissau team, the bulk of the team that played that match, probably most of them have never even played in the national team, and it's like they're in a transition process all the same. And it just shows that with these qualifiers, most coaches are really trying to maybe look for new players who are probably for the future, give them an opportunity to play in the future tournaments, or even if they try and qualify for the World Cup. And I think that's the trend that we're about to see with all these national teams, including ours.
I think we've seen that in the national team. I mean, there's been a cropping up of a lot of new players who are being fielded into that game. Talking of the national team, from a player's perspective, what do you think we need to do to get to this level where we are?
Well, we just need to get our house in order. I mean, there are no shortcut to success. We must start from the basics. And by saying we must start from the basics, I think we must have the right structures put in place. Because if you look at the previous regime, we didn't have maybe an under-10, under-15 national team. And if you look at some of these countries that are doing probably well in the continental scene or in the international scene, they have a structure whereby they are they have a youth structure whereby some of these players, they grow from maybe the under 10 to under 15 to under 17, under 20, under 23, and before you know it, they've been promoted to the senior team. And we are seeing with the new regime, we are already seeing that, because we already have an under 15 team that probably even reached in the Sekafa national champions, and they were knocked out by Uganda. And to me, that's a very good start. And I'm hoping probably this team, they'll maintain the bulk of this team, of these under 15-year-olds, probably in the next few years or so. This is probably the team that will take us to the World Cup. Yeah.
Okay. A very interesting game. There was a game between Seychelles and Rwanda. Seychelles lost a total of 10-0 in aggregate. Yeah.
Again, it's just another matter of looking at the two teams. If you look at Seychelles, even in the past, I think they've been losing a lot of matches. And if you look at the club football back in Seychelles, I don't think it's that competitive compared to the Rwandese football. And if you look at the team that Rwanda fielded against Seychelles, you'd think even it's a World Cup final, because they had some of their best players playing that team. We saw Jack Tuyisenge in the score sheet. We saw Medi Kagere also getting the score sheet. So it's probably now just, I mean, they're just trying to prove their dominance against a team like Seychelles, and that's what you need in a team. If you find maybe a weak team, try and make them a statement. And we saw Somalia making a statement with Zimbabwe. Now we've seen Rwanda making a statement with Seychelles. So it's also now sends shockwaves into the continent to other teams that probably might want to meet Rwanda. They should have their heads up.
Talking of Rwanda, it's really commendable to see how serious they take their sports. I mean, from that lineup that they did, and then a couple of weeks ago, their president Paul Kagame launched a stadium there. I mean, is it looking at all that perspective? I mean, what probably needs, is it that we don't have the qualified people to carry out this mantle, or what is the actual problem?
Well, to me, if you can compare between Rwanda and Kenya, I think the guys we have here, probably to me, they don't have the interests of sports at heart, because we've seen week in, week out, the basketball team, they're not being funded. We've seen the disabled national team, when they flew to Mexico, they were mishandled. They were not even paid their allowances. We've seen even our national team. Actually, it's only this year that I've seen our national team being handled well, because the allowance have been paid on time. The camp, they went to France. But if you look at these other sports, netball, we had sorts of them maybe being kicked out of their hotel back in North Africa. So to me, I think the guys who are handling our sport, they don't really have the interest of players at heart, and that's why we can see the likes of a country like Rwanda. The president is serious about sports. We've seen him building a world-class stadium. We see the national team, I mean, posting some remarkable results. So it's all about now how these two parties can intermingle, or maybe can work together. Because if you have a sports, maybe sports is not being given that much, let me say, concentration or maybe support from the government, definitely we won't go anywhere.
Last week, the Ministry of Sports issued a circular in terms of giving a directive on how the athletes are going to be paid. Do you think it's gonna be, or it's another promise that we've had?
I think to me it's just another promise that we've had, because I was privileged to attend the SJAC Awards some few weeks ago to represent my team, Sofa Park FC, and we had the Minister of Sports in attendance as the guest of honor, and he actually said the same thing, but he was actually saying the same thing, but at the same time laughing, because I mean he acknowledged that in the past they made promises that were never fulfilled. So to me, unless we've seen it happening, to me we still can't count our eggs before they hatch. Okay,
so let's hope from the relevant stakeholders that we are going to end this narrative of constantly talking about issues and not offering a solution to them. I mean, year in, year out, day in, day out, we keep talking about sports issues that could just be sorted out at the snap of a finger. Jumping into the other topic of discussion, we talk about the 2020 European Championship qualifying. Just a backdrop on this particular competition. It's going to be taking place in the 12th June to July 2020. The defending champions are Portugal. They won the final against France 1-0. So going into, I know the qualification stage is not yet done.
Yeah.
We still do not have a full rostrum of the teams that are going to be playing in that tournament.
Yeah.
But looking at how the teams have been performing in last week's or this week's qualifiers, which teams are definitely teams to be watched out?
We can see the table is already shaping up. We can see the favorites are bound to go forward and maybe play in that championship. To me, England, Portugal, Italy are always the favorites, because you can see from the matches that they just played recently, they've already made some huge statement. England beating, I think it was Kosovo by 5 goals.
They beat Kosovo.
Yeah, and 5-3
actually.
5-3, and also Italy. They've been getting some scrappy wins, but again, it's a team that is so tactical. They don't like to. They don't really score a lot of goals, but at the same time, they don't really like to concede. So to me, those are some of the teams that are probably, you know, we are likely to see them going forward and maybe even carrying the trophy. But having said that, again, it's a playing at the international level, it's a totally different ball game. We've seen the likes of Iceland causing upset to some of the big nations in the European continent. So we can just only sit back and maybe wait and see who will be the best team that will come out of these teams.
Okay, yeah. Germany, what do you think of Germany?
Germany, they're also a good side, but in the recent past, I think they're also in a transition process whereby we are seeing the older generation fading out. They go, actually, I can call them the golden generation. They're fading out, and we are seeing some new kids on the block who are very exciting to see. And I won't really give them a chance as much.
Okay, why though?
To me, okay, they've not been really convincing enough, because we've seen them sometimes they're losing matches, or maybe they're getting wins, but they're not really convincing enough in terms of those wins. But to me, my favorites are definitely England, with the type of young squad that they have in the team. Very exciting. You see the Jordan Sancho just coming to the scene recently, and you can even wonder why Manchester City sold him to Dortmund, because I mean, he's currently now the hottest prospect in Germany and in Europe as well. And plus, we have their captain Harry Kane.
And Raheem Sterling.
So I think it's a very complete side, and to me, they're favorite.
Talking of Raheem Sterling, he's been on a really good performance in the past games that he has played for Manchester City. Yeah. So should we probably, should that be like a projection of what to expect in the upcoming games?
Definitely that, because I mean, the way Raheem Sterling plays currently, it's a totally different Raheem Sterling that used to play back in Liverpool. Because now I think he has really matured. Plus, you must give credit to his manager, because I mean, he's a manager that really knows how to use him well, and we can see now he's assisting goals, and we can see he's scoring as well. Yeah. Plus, there's some situations, one-on-one situations, maybe the way he makes decisions on the ball and off the ball probably is so mature with the ball, and I think that's the new Raheem Sterling that probably most of us we've always wanted to see for a long time. So he's one of the key players in that England team, and as well as at the club level.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's hard to talk about Raheem Sterling and not mention the Premier League. For the battle of the top scorer in this season, who do you fancy?
Well, I think this will surprise you, but I think Ashley Barnes might cause a surprise.
Wow. What about Pukki? I mean, Pukki has had a good game. I mean,
he has had a good game, but unless he scores maybe 10 goals, maybe in 10 games in a row, the way Harry Kane did when Leicester were promoted in the EPL, I think he might convince me. But I think just few games, and yeah, he's a good player. We can't take anything away from that, because we've seen him even doing well in his national team, Iceland. Yeah. But in terms of maybe top scorer, I think Ashley Barnes of Burnley might come out of nowhere and maybe claim that trophy. Because if you look at Ashley Barnes' current stats, I think he's the third highest top scorer after Harry Kane and Aguero, and there's no other player who can match him. And to me, you know, those are the type of players who maybe I can call them the dark horses. They're just looming somewhere in the background, but before you know it, they've already run with it.
Yeah. The type of players that don't really actually receive the attention too much compared to other players. Exactly. But at the end of the day, they end up performing really well. Yeah. The US Open happened this past week. Nadal won against Medvedev. What was your expectation in that match? Did you expect Nadal to win or to lose?
No, I expected him to win, because looking at the circumstances at which he was playing the finals, there are rumors that, you know, he's 33-year-old, maybe he's fading off, or his color, you know, he's going off color a bit, but I mean, he was really determined to go ahead and beat Medvedev. And I mean, 15 seasons playing at the top level, 33 or 15 seasons, 19 Grand Slams.
Yeah.
Just in this year alone, he has played 11 tournaments, and out of the 11 tournaments, he has won 4, including Roland Garros. So I think he has some good numbers, and the only person ahead of him definitely is Roger Federer, who's actually just 1 Grand Slam ahead of him at 20. So I think well deserved for a man like him, and probably he should now get some good rest and probably wait for the next season.
Do you think he should retire this time?
No, I don't think he should retire.
Okay.
I mean, 33 is still at his peak.
Okay.
Yeah.
So probably for our viewers, these are some of the championships that Rafael Nadal has won so far. He has won 1 Australia Open, that was in 2009. Yeah. The French Open he has won 12 times. That was 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, and there are so many. The list is endless. He has 2 Wimbledon championships, and then the US Open he has 4. He won the 19th one. He won the 19th Grand Slam. Yeah. Yeah. So he won that. He won in 2010, 2013, 2017, and then 2019. There was a game between Bianca Andreescu and Serena Williams. What did you make out of that match?
Again, it was another tricky one, but definitely Serena Williams, to me, she was the favorite. We've seen her maybe being upset by people who definitely always look up to her. But going into that match, I think she was also determined, and I mean, class is always be permanent. Okay. Yeah.
But going into that game, I think I had an open mind, given the fact that you see, and Nani Bianca was making she was making her debut in the US Open. Yeah. And then considering to the few matches that Serena has lost, she lost against Coco Gauff, and then Naomi Osaka. Yeah. So that was the mentality that I had. I thought in my mind that anything is possible in sports. Yeah. And I usually talk about that here every single time, that in sports anything is possible. You know, today you are winning, tomorrow you are losing, and then you lose in the utmost circumstances. Let me just talk briefly about the financial aspects in the US Open. The cash prize in the US Open was $3.85 million. Translate that to Kenya shillings, that means it's around 399 million shillings. The total prize money that was awarded to the athletes was $57.2 million. That's approximately 5.9 billion shillings. That's a lot of money. Will we ever get to this level where we'll be giving out this money?
I'm telling you, sports overseas is serious business. I mean, you can just look at those numbers. They're staggering figures. And I hope maybe with time, maybe even Kenya will adopt to such trends, so that at least we can, make sports our own business. Because I mean, it's even unbelievable that a player can be paid that amount of money just playing by some few matches or so. In Kenya, when you're talking about billions, the first thing that comes to your mind is money that has been lost in a corruption scandal somewhere. You know, we rarely talk about billions in terms of sports amount of money that has been awarded to a player. So I hope we'll be able to get to that point where we'll be saying Ronald has had a good season this time. Yeah, actually I was saying, because, as the founder of Arrow Sports Management, one of my dreams is definitely, I said sometime here back that hopefully maybe in the next few years, one of my players probably will be sold for billions. Maybe one of my players will be the African Player of the Year. And when your dreams are not big enough, probably they don't even scare you.
Probably you look for other dreams to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's talk about Formula One. Lewis Hamilton lost to Leclerc at Monza.
Finally.
What did you?
I think finally just.
You don't sound like a Lewis Hamilton fan.
No, I'm not a Lewis Hamilton fan, even though he's one of the most spectacular drivers to watch. The reason why I don't like Lewis, not that I don't like, the reason why I'm not really.
You wanted a change.
I definitely wanted a change at the top, because in the past we've seen maybe Bottas doing the dirty work for Lewis Hamilton to carry the trophy or the championship. So I think to me this him coming second, I think will probably just was deserved.
So just I compiled some of the losses that Lewis Hamilton. I know you're going to be happy with these particular results. Some of the losses that Lewis Hamilton has faced so far. He lost at the Italian Grand Prix, Belgium. Belgian Grand Prix, which was won by Leclerc. German GP, he lost to Verstappen, and then Austrian GP, he lost to Max Verstappen. So do you think it's probably time for another generation of drivers to pick up from where what he's done?
Well, I don't really think so, because I mean, these are very dominant driver. I mean, on the track, he's just a beast behind those wheels, and you can even see that with the number of losses that he has had, probably just very few losses in terms of compared to some other drivers. So he's a driver that is used to the being at the top, at the helm, and you know, when you say that when you're at the top, definitely it's lonely, and you must get those big shots. Maybe you must be defeated in a few races for you to understand how lonely it is at the top. And I'm definitely I'm very sure that in the next race probably he'll be bouncing back to try and claim back his top spot. But having said that, I think it's time for the likes of maybe Bottas, Ricciardo to also step up and maybe try and also challenge for the top spot, because I mean it's been a Lewis Hamilton affair.
I posted something about Lewis Hamilton losing in the social media, and then people are like, Lewis Hamilton lost. I mean, I think it's because of the dominance that he has exuded in the past couple of years that his name has become so synonymous with Formula One, such that if you mention Formula One, the first name that comes is Lewis Hamilton. But I think that is the beauty of sport. I mean, always having it's being unpredictable, you know, not knowing who's going to win. And also it also promotes to the entertainment part of the sports. I think you probably as a Formula One fan, you'll not enjoy that particular game or that particular race if you're watching and you definitely know that it is Lewis Hamilton who's going to win that particular game. So we have that particular race. So we have the FIBA Basketball World Cup that is currently taking place in Beijing, China. So far, this is how the matches are fared. We have Argentina versus Serbia. Argentina beat Serbia 97-87. US was beaten by France. Spain beat Poland, and then Australia beat Czech Republic, and then there is Spain versus Australia, which was played a few hours before we came on air. That was 95-88. And then as you're going on air, there was Argentina versus France. Which team do you fancy? Which team do you want to see in the final?
I would have loved to see Serbia go to the finals, because I mean, you know,
the underdogs, eh?
The underdogs. Many people don't talk about some of these teams like Poland, Serbia, but if you look at them actually on paper and look at them physically, they have some very good players. But I think, having said that, probably now my money is on France, definitely, because they have some. They actually have some very good quality players in that team. There's a very big good balance within the team, the quality, depth, balance. It's all everything. It's a very well oiled gel machine, and it's a team that is bound to go all the way up to the finals.
US was bundled out of the competition. I mean, they were already the favorites of that particular tournament. As a fan of underdogs, were you impressed by that?
I was impressed, actually, because I've been watching the 3x3 FIBA tournament, whereby it's like a freestyle basketball tournament, and 3-on-3, 3v3, and the teams that have always been so dominant actually are Poland, Serbia, some of these Eastern Europe countries. And we've seen even the likes of USA, who, to me, if you talk about basketball, definitely which team comes first in your mind, which country comes first in your mind, definitely it's USA. So I think also the dominance of maybe USA or maybe the likes of France taking over, or maybe being known as the big names in terms of basketball are just fading away. And just like you said, you know, in sports, that's the beauty of sports. It's so unpredictable. Who knew maybe the USA could bundle out of the tournament, and there it is.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Ronald.
Welcome.
So this a couple of weeks back, I spent time with people at Jena, where at Jena Young Entrepreneurs Network. At Young Entrepreneurs Network, they do training for people who are interested in doing golf. I had a conversation with some of them, and this is what you need to know about Young Entrepreneurs Network.